Welcome to this week's episode of On Record PR, where we talk about the latest news, strategies, and insights that matter most to law firm leaders. I am a host, Jennifer Simpson Carr, and I am here again this week with our Chief Innovation Officer, Leslie Richards. Hi, Leslie.
Hey Jennifer, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for joining me yet again
Sure.
for this episode, and it is scheduled to release on 9/29. And for those listeners who did not join us last week, Leslie really unpacked the difference between SEO and GEO and the way that search is changing in light of AI results. So if you did not listen to that episode, we encourage you to go back and do so. It is packed with information and also some practical steps that individuals can take to start working towards this AI search result world that we are living in. And today we're going to talk about knowledge panels, which is a way that law firms and any individual really can begin to demonstrate and shape their credibility before someone ever clicks on a link. So, Leslie, let's just start at the very basic level. What is a knowledge panel?
Yeah. So if you are um, if you're in Google and you're starting a search and you search for somebody's name, for example, say you have the name of an attorney in mind. If that person has published a significant amount of content, you will see something on the right-hand side that looks kind of like what we're used to seeing for businesses, where you get kind of the map and a few pictures and things like that, only this is for an author, right? So it's a knowledge panel for an author, and it will show you all the same things that we're used to seeing for the map pack. That's what that, the business profile that we're used to seeing on the right-hand side, but it'll show you their photograph, it'll show you where they've been published, and that includes things like social media. It includes, if they have a book on Amazon, anything like that, it pulls basically all the information about that person into one convenient panel on the right-hand side. Yeah. So that's a knowledge panel. And like a business profile, you can claim a knowledge panel as an author.
Okay, this is very interesting to me because for those of us who have ever searched what in my mind was a famous individual. So, for example, I searched for my mom and her basketball photos came up and information about her
Okay,
and all of those cool
that makes
things.
sense. Yeah.
Um, Now we're learning through this conversation that professionals and lawyers can claim their knowledge panels in order to really own their thought leadership on Google. So let's talk about, based on our conversation last week and this concept of knowledge panels, what role do knowledge panels play in shaping trust and credibility?
So they're basically kind of a validation of your authority on a certain topic or in a certain arena, right? And it's there are ways that Google kind of provides this shortcut to an overview of who this person is. It reinforces credibility. It builds user trust. It can highlight expertise. And it does that both for your human searchers and for search engines like Google or generative engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. So it is a very strong signal that you have sort of a preponderance of content that elevates you to a certain status in the digital landscape.
And how does that tie into the new concept of GEO?
Right. So generative engine optimization, which is the practice of trying to get cited as a source for an AI summary or a result, an answer in ChatGPT or Perplexity or something like that, right? Um, those activities of generating answers through AI rely really heavily on or weigh, I should say, they really weigh the authority of the author when deciding which pieces of content to cite. So everybody with me, right? Generative engine provides a result, an AI summary at the top of Google, or if you go into ChatGPT, you ask it something and you can say, what are the sources for this answer? Where did you get this information? Perplexity provides them automatically. If you want to be cited as a source for that answer, your authority online matters in terms of the potential to become that source. So a knowledge panel, to get back to your beginning of your question, a knowledge panel helps reinforce your authority and makes it more likely that you'll get cited for one of those answers as a source for an answer.
Okay. And so there are probably a number of people on here who are listening who might be searching for themselves right now,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Do I have a
Yep.
knowledge panel? Does my partner have a knowledge panel? Does my client have, right? And just trying to explore, what they look like and who might have them. So, for example, when I search for myself, I don't have a knowledge panel. For our listeners who may find that same result, what are the steps that they can take, or what's the criteria in order to start develop enough content or thought leadership or authority? I don't know if all of those things combine help, but what are the steps that they can take to meet whatever threshold is required of them to be someone whose results in a
We
knowledge
don't
panel?
we don't know. I mean,
Okay.
Google doesn't tell us specifically, here's what you have to do to get a knowledge panel, but if you look at people who have them, you can kind of reverse engineer it, right?
Okay.
So for example, our founder, Gina Rubel, if you search her name, there's a knowledge panel. Gina has spoken at numerous conferences. Every time that happens, we take a synopsis of that and we publish it somewhere, whether it's on our website or LinkedIn profile, wherever. Gina has written numerous articles for third-party publications that have nothing to do with our website or our digital presence, but in which she appears and talks on a certain subject. Gina has a book on Google. She publishes regularly to her LinkedIn profile and to the company LinkedIn profile. So these practices of just taking your presence in your industry and figuring out how to take the things that you do every day, whether it's showing up at a conference or drafting a drafting a response to a client sometimes, right? Which you can anonymize and then turn into valuable content for your audience. Whatever it is, publishing and distributing across multiple channels is really what gets you there. And it's not an insignificant amount of content that needs to be available. You might be a very prominent attorney with a very long history of very successful work, but if you're not publishing
Mm.
that success, you may not have a knowledge panel despite your real expertise in the industry.
Okay. So that answers one of the questions that popped up in my head was, is length of time probably a key consideration? But it sounds like it's actual publishing of content that
It may
is the
be
driver.
publishing is showing that you've been publishing over a period of time and that you are that you're in it for the long run. I can imagine that that would be a criteria that Google would care about, but we don't know. And anybody who tells you that they do, really, this is all, I mean, geo is new, right? Generative engine optimization is new. We're still figuring it out. And SEO has always been educated guesswork, right? Because Google's never going to tell us exactly how and why they rank. We need to understand, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that their goal is to get people the most valuable and accurate response to an inquiry.
Mm.
That's Google's goal. So how they get there, that changes, right? And that's
Mhm.
changed over time. They release new frameworks on a regular basis, et cetera. But for right now, as we look at people who have knowledge panels, they have been active in their industry and they have been making that activity visible online. And they've reached a critical mass in terms of the amount of content that's out there. Exactly what that critical mass looks like probably depends on the industry and a whole bunch of other things.
So that's helpful information. And when we get back from our sponsor message, I'd like to talk more about how attorneys and potentially the law firms, helping support them can start to optimize their knowledge panels if they have them in order to position themselves as an authority in their field.
This episode is brought to you by Furia Ruble Communications, a public relations and marketing agency serving law firms and businesses worldwide. With an expert team positioned throughout the U.S. and supported by an international faculty, Furia Ruble enhances our clients' brands through integrated communications by providing expert guidance in crisis management and high-profile litigation, protecting brand and reputation, and supporting internal marketing teams. To learn more, visit furiaruble.com.
So we're back from our sponsor message. And Leslie, I want to end our time together by addressing a question some of our listeners may have, which is they've searched for themselves on Google
Yep.
and it's shown up with a knowledge panel.
Yep.
What steps can they take to influence or optimize their knowledge panels to ensure information is accurate and authoritative?
So just like a business profile, you can claim an author profile or a knowledge panel, right? So go in and claim it. You'll see a link to do that. Monitor it on a regular basis to make sure that the information is accurate. If it's not, Google has feedback tools that allow you to make changes or suggest changes to your panel. You can't edit it. And then continue publishing. Publish content to, third-party sites, authoritative content that highlights your expertise, that links back to verifiable credentials, encourage mentions and citations in third-party sites. Really, some of the things that we've been doing for SEO also apply here, but just that publishing of content and linking back to your expertise on that subject is really the best way to make sure that that knowledge panel continues to highlight information that's useful to your users and confirms your authority with generative engine optimization, generative engine tools. Yeah.
So it sounds like limited ability to influence it, but some steps to take so that you can monitor it and course correct
Yeah.
with Google if needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just continuing your content strategy, really, that's what feeds the knowledge panel. Yep.
Thank you for helping us to better understand knowledge panels. Again, I always appreciate learning from you. It helps me feel more up to date with what's happening, in our technology world that's changing very quickly.
Well, I would say we're all learning all the time, right? Because this world does change quickly, and I think one of the key factors in success is curiosity, and then just the ability to consume a lot of information about
Yeah.
what's going on in this space. And so I think the other thing the last thing I'll say to our listeners is be prepared for this to change. We may find more information on how to optimize. We may find more information on what's working for people and what's not. We're really at the infancy of understanding how these generative engine tools are going to impact digital marketing. We have some ideas. We're sharing them with you, but we're all learning together.
I'm really glad we changed our podcast format to record and release weekly because things do feel like they're changing so fast that recording these a couple of weeks in advance, by the time we release them, would already feel outdated to me at least. So I appreciate that we saw that and changed ahead of time.
Yeah.
So thanks to our listeners for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We will continue to bring you conversations that help you control your digital footprint, think about your reputation management online and in the digital world. If you have specific questions you'd like us to answer or topics you'd like us to address, please continue to email us at podcast@furiaruble.com. We love getting your feedback and ideas. And if you've enjoyed this episode, we'd appreciate if you'd consider leaving a review, sharing it with a friend or colleague. And we hope to see you next week for an episode with our international faculty member, Deb Ruffins, on the billable hour, which is a big topic and one that I'm excited to speak with her about. Thanks again, Leslie.
Thanks, Jennifer. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
On Record PR is produced by Jennifer Simpson Carr and Matt Henderson, with support from the team at Furia Ruble Communications. This episode is edited by Isabel Horan and Christian Yamula. Visit www.onrecordpr.com for resources and more information.